Hey everybody, this is John for MTG Nexus, talking about the new updated mana base for Burn with Sunbaked Canyon and to a lesser extent Fiery Islet being printed in Modern Horizons. A couple people have asked me my thoughts and opinions on it, so here we go. As a friendly reminder, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, please consider subscribing, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a constructive comment down below, as we embark to become the most informative channel for Magic the Gathering on YouTube, particularly with everything Lightning Bolt and everything in between. So, Sunbaked Canyon, the new Horizon Canopy-esque land. Very interesting thought process with Burn is the damage you take from this and the ability to draw a card off of it at a later point in time. So decks like humans that run this, or elves, they don't take a ton of damage off their mana bases. Burn, on the other hand, has been kind of a fetch shock mana base for a while, especially when you want to splash a third color. You're frequently taking, 1, 2, 3, 5 damage off your land base as it is. Throwing Sunbaked Canyon in kind of increases that. So there are some balances to be had. Current mana base examples. Got this one, for example, which is just the straight red-white version. 10 fetches, couple shocks, 3 mountains, the full 4 fast lands. Take a little bit of damage when you have to fetch shock for Sacred Foundry, fetching for basic mountains and such, but relatively low damage overall. Mana base, when you have Stomping Grounds, one of the Inspiring Advantages gets cut. You're still running the 12 fetches, having a Stomping Ground for the Cinder Vines on the sideboard. So this damage takes a little bit more damage. So those are kind of the baselines. Basically 19 lands has kind of become the standard with Burn, try to mitigate flooding a little bit, plus Karamagrim Lavamancer into most of these lists. It's kind of become the new-ish standard throughout the format. So what do mana bases, for example, look like? So this is one example. If you want to go light on the Horizon Canopy-esque lands, 2 Sunbaked Canopy, 3 Horizon, 3 Inspiring Vantage, 2 Sacred Foundry, along with 10 fetches and 3 basic mountains. So you still have access to 10 fetches, your 3 basic mountains. You still have a lot of your colored sources, and you'll still have 2 cycle lands. This is for maybe early when you're trying to collect all 4, or if you're in a more aggressive environment, this is a good example of a mana base you could run. Another example is heavy on Lightning Helix. You can go maybe 4 Sunbaked Canyon, 2 Inspiring Advantage, 2 Sacred Foundry still, and then 3 mountains and down to 9 fetches. So you end up having 20 lands in this particular configuration. I think it is, because you have the ability to obviously cycle these away, so it's a little bit less demanding when you have 20 lands. You're a little bit less strained on your particulars. Yep, 12, 20. In the previous build we have 7, 20 as well. So kind of upping to 20 lands to kind of mitigate. If you wanted to run 19, you could probably cut 1 fetch from each thing. The basic mountains are a callback to both Field of Ruin and Path to Exile, which are obviously pretty prevalent in the formats. And then as far as the final one, Boros, Burn with Green Splash, this one's a little bit more tricky. So down to 2, 2, and 2. So 2 fast lands, 2 Horizon Canopy-esque lands, and then so you have 6, 9, 18. This one only has 19 lands, and then you have the 1 Stomping Ground, 9 fetches to go grab with it. So you still have 10 green sources for a Destructive Revelry. Still have your 3 basic mountains, for your Field of Ruins and such when they're trying to take you off your colors. And you still have access to the fast lands and the canopy lands to kind of mitigate flooding. One thing I want to call back to is Paulo Vito Rosa has I believe it's Paulo has it. No, sorry. Joel Larson wrote a list about the new mana bases and stuff, and I'm going to pull that one up here. So, with all due respect to the pro players, 6 of these is a lot. Even with 4 Lightning Helix, that is an insane amount of damage from your land base. Still playing 4 Inspiring Vantage, only 5 fetch lands, and yet you still have 3 basic mountains and 2 Sacred Foundries. I don't think that's very realistic in terms of that's an enormous amount of damage you're taking to cast your spells. Um, yeah, it's nice to have 6 cycling lands, but the thing people got to remember is decks like humans or decks like elves don't take a ton of damage from their lands because they have their own like little, like a human's dex is running the 12 duels that are all damage free. The elves decks are running like Glintleaf Palace and all that are their own version of fast lands that don't deal them damage. So I think it's really questionable to think that even a deck as fast as and aggressive as Burn can really afford to play more than 4 copies of this. One deck that might be able to get away with a little bit more is Mono Red Phoenix, but I think even them 4 or 5 is kind of the upper end of what you can get away with in these examples. So that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on potential mana bases for Burn moving forward? Obviously, the Horizon Canopy lands are the biggest boon to Burn, both from the standpoint of increasing flexibility of not flooding out and such, and also our opponents will be likely taking more damage. Some of the more aggressive opponents, at least, give us maybe a better chance to race them in certain matchups. Not really sure where else it's going to pop up. Maybe is it Phoenix? A couple other decks that could possibly be aggressive enough to utilize that and still want the extra cards off of Horizon Canopy lands. So we end up seeing where all these pop up. But what are your thoughts? This has been John for MTG Nexus. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.